Is it possible to run Windows 11 inside the good old Windows 7, which is a 16-year-old discontinued operating system? I want to find out. For this we need virtualization software. A quick Google search tells us the latest supported version of VMware Workstation on Windows 7 was version 15. However, if you are proficient in English, then you can see that right here it says Workstation 12. This is because I forgot to do a quick Google search before I installed VMware Workstation. So I have got an older version. I quickly set up the virtual machine, and for Win11 ISO I used a stripped down version of Windows 11, which would be more lightweight on the resource usage. I'm going to explain my situation in just a second. Let's finish the setup. We have to pick Windows 10 x64. Let's just name it Windows 11. We need one processor and 2 cores. And let's allocate 4 GB of RAM. Next, 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 next. Finish. That was easy. I quickly double checked some settings, and since everything seemed fine, we were ready to fire up the VM and tackle some challenges. And there's the logo. That's a good sign. And now we just have to wait. For you, I'm gonna skip it forward in 3, 2, 1. Psych! I am not going to skip forward. The biggest problem here is that I'm actually doing nested virtualization. I'm trying to run Windows 11 on Windows 7, which in itself is running on macOS. So it's just going to be way slower and way laggier than normal. And we have successfully gotten to the Windows setup. And at this point I actually messed up and had to do everything all over again. But don't worry, I won't make you watch all of that boring setup all over again. Basically, what I forgot to do the first time was pull up the command prompt inside the Windows setup. Here I had to open up the registry editor and head over to this setup directory, where you would have to create a folder called lab config. It was actually created already for me. And this is where you would have to add new values to make Windows 11 bypass some checks that would limit our progression forward. My stripped down version of Windows already came with some of these values already added, but I added a few more just in case. And now I can continue with the setup. I accept, next, drive 0, next, and now it's installing Windows. So we have overcame one problem so far. Now we just have to wait, and it's also gonna take quite a while. And I really mean that. Because with my setup it took exactly half an hour just for Windows to install and get to the next step of the setup. Now we can choose a language. But from here we have another issue. Let me just open up the command prompt, and what we have to do is bypass the Windows internet connection requirements. After that the system is going to reboot. And that also took almost 10 minutes to boot back up before I could continue. And now we should be able to proceed with the setup. Let's click on yes. Then there's another loading screen and keyboard setup. Also, it would quite possibly run a bit better if I disabled the Aero theme on Windows 7. But you know what? I'm not gonna do that, because how can you disable something like this? I don't have internet. Here you have some more very exciting footage. What was your first pet's name? What was the name of the city you were born in? What was your childhood nickname? Next, next, accept. Just a moment. Hi. Getting things ready for you. This might take a few minutes. It's been like an hour and I'm still not done with the setup. Good things are coming your way. Almost there. And here we are on Windows 11. It looks as beautiful as ever. Also, I would like to mention that this is not the latest and greatest Windows 11, but rather 23H2, which is like 2 or 3 years old at this point, I think. But yeah, everything is super slow. Stuff just takes super long to load and appear. Once again, I have to remind you that the performance would be a lot better if I wasn't running a virtual machine inside another virtual machine, which in itself is running on a Mac. I do not like how many icons we have in the taskbar, so let's try to customize that. It takes about 15 seconds for settings to open, or actually even more. I have done many painful things to Windows on this channel, but this is by far the worst I have seen it struggle. So let's try to use some features. Let's try to open the calculator. Actually, I want to see the task manager, what's going on in there. So this is my actual CPU on my Mac Mini. Memory we have 4 GB, and the numbers here don't even doesn't seem that bad. But regardless, everything is still struggling. Let's try and open as many applications as we possibly can. Can I get like a smaller task manager window? Okay, so let me just put it right there in the corner. This is really difficult. Even something small like opening the start menu is really laggy. My goal here was to open as many applications as I possibly could. But first I wanted to change the screen resolution. So let me just go to display, which is extremely slow. Or wait, actually no, this is limited by my virtual machine settings. Okay, so we can't do that. So these are most of the pre-installed apps open. But anyway, Windows 11 does run on Windows 7. Leave a comment down below what do you think about all of this, and have a nice day.